he's probably sitting back, well, dang, I thought me and Chris really had a friendship, so we need to make it right.
I need to sit down and talk to her. I need to apologize to her.
Yes. Hey guys, what's up? It's Cecily and welcome back to my Real Housewives of Potomac after show. I've got a lot of things that I want to talk about today. Today I'm going to kind of do a scene by scene recap. First, I'm going to break it down. Off the top, I am very tired of this fight. I am tired of the aftermath, the different point of views. I want it to go away. I really feel like this fight should have been a 2-hour special. Open, close it, be done with it. Let's move on. We go right into Candiace meeting up with Robin. Candiace has experienced some trauma. There's a lot of people online that are like, can't you get over it? Haven't you been in a fight before? You started it. She got hit in the head over and over and over again. She got snatched. She was hurt. If you put your hands on me, it's going to be slightly traumatic for me too. So am I going to get over it? No. There are certain things that you probably will never get over. And not everyone is used to getting hit or having their ass beat or being publicly humiliated, especially by someone you used to call friend. So I understand that. It's still hard for me to watch. We're going to move right into Robin and her tax woes. I don't know how these things get put out there. I just don't understand. Are they public record? It's just bizarre how these are the things that you can find out about. You know, when I heard about Juan's former best friend, who I believe was their accountant, embezzling money, I always thought, well, you guys aren't savvy enough or didn't ask the right questions, possibly. Not that they brought that on themselves. And you got to be accountable. What did you do to make sure that he was the right person for the job? What did you do to make sure that you had the just in case money? All those things. I always had that in the back of my mind. They have had a lot of financial issues and that life would have been better had they had the money that Juan made when he was in the league. They've struggled, and it seemed like the show plus his job as a coach was putting them back in the game. And this tax thing can't be good. We know that people break up all the time over money. You'll break up with people mismanaging funds, even if you make a good living, just worried about your partner not spending money well. And that's understandable. These financial issues are avoidable. You could look at a couple and say, well, they haven't gone through this. For some reason, you and your partner keeps going through financial issues, then, you might change your partner just for some peace. Some peace. Nobody wants to deal with that. We move on to the trip to Surry County. Surry County is a place I've never heard of. My parents are from the South. My dad's from Alabama. My mom's from New Orleans. So got a kind of a Southern upbringing by way of my Southern parents in Sacramento, California. She's speaking my language. I read that a lot of people said, oh, this is boring. It's not Love and Hip Hop. It's not glitz and glamour. It's not Beverly Hills. But this is where a lot of us come from. And so I was patient even with myself and just trying to enjoy this portion of the show. Right off the top, I'm confused. We all actually overhear a phone call between Monique and Karen, and then Giselle's listening silently. And I just wanted to play that audio so we could have it fresh. Where be it?
What's up, babe? Hey, what's up, girlie? What you up to? Karen, Giselle, and I are here in Surry, Virginia. Yep. We just rode a combine. That's right. Oh, I hate I'm listening. How are you? I just been feeling like Drake. I'm sorry. Are you okay? I just been on edge. Well, I gotta tell you, I never thought my two friends would end up at such opposite ends. At the end of the day, the sad thing about Candiace is, if it wasn't me, it would have been somebody else. Jesus. Oh my God. It's all just dumb and lies. I'm just gonna try to get some rest. All right, babe. Love you, ladies. Bye.
There's more.
This is crazy. I can't. Like, you beat somebody's ass, and you were dead wrong. Candiace should have pressed charges that night. I said to Candiace, if it were me, and I felt as strongly as Candiace has been speaking to me, I would look into what can I do legally. Does Monique know you've had that conversation, though, with Candiace? I believe she has, but I'm going to make sure considering that Candiace looked.
Okay, so that threw me for a loop because Karen has been very, very neutral in this situation almost perfectly. She has not leaned too far in either direction before now. And that's what we know because we see it on camera. But this conversation obviously reveals that Karen has had different types of conversations with Candiace. I could hear myself saying that to a friend. Well, if you really feel that way, if I were in your shoes, I would pursue it that way. This is from Karen. This is from her mouth. And so unless the editors cut something out, so it could be taken out of context, there could be an and or but or something after that. It doesn't look like a cut. It seems like that plays all the way through. That's how she left that. I think that we see a preview later on of her addressing what advice she might have given Candiace. At this point, with, having the recent experience of hearing Monique say she's not sorry, it seems like that's probably a good place to go because she's not remorseful. It could happen again. You might need to get ahead of this and let her know that you're not one to mess with. So that's how I feel about that. Moving on to Karen's story. I love that Karen shared the story. She mentions that they were slaves on this land and they actually bought the plantation from the owners. This was a common story. Many of the Africans post-slavery that became sharecroppers, and they gave you a little bit of money and worked the same land that you were probably born on or forced to work on. Many of them were able to buy the farms that they were slaves on because there was a whole breakdown. Economic wealth kind of changed where people no longer had people working for free. You had to pay for folks to work for you. So not everyone could sustain their businesses. And so a lot of Black people went into business because this is something that they did very well. My dad grew up on a farm. My grandmother had her own farm. My grandfather lives on the land that his great-great-grandfather, the white man that owned his family, who got with the slave and had a bunch of kids, he built a house for her, and that land is still in our family to this day. A lot of us don't know where we come from. These kinds of stories tie us to the past. So even if you don't know who your immediate family might be, or your grandparents or your great-grandparents, it's likely they have a story like this. And I'm really glad that Bravo is sharing that. I don't really get into the hijinks. Let's shuck some corn and let's go milk a cow. But I really liked that Ashley got on the tractor and we got to see one of the things their family does. This reminded me of the time that I saw Giselle in New Orleans and they were doing, I think like a Mardi Gras thing or something like that, a parade of sorts or something. I like that this show does infuse historical Black culture, things that are outside of what America or the world thinks is considered to be Black culture. You can't take this history. This is our stuff. And I like that they shared that. I thought it was really touching where Karen shares her experiences of growing up in the church. Again, I grew up in the church too. My dad was a pastor and I spent several days a week at church all the way up until I was an adult. And that was a place where I learned a lot of my beliefs come from. A lot of things happened there. It's just so many layers. So I can imagine Karen losing her parents and being in that same place and being there without them. That must have been really hard. I really appreciate that she's so transparent with what she's going through and her loss, because she could hide this from us, but there's so many people that can relate. And there's so many people that have had really great upbringings and love their parents and miss them. A lot of times we hear about tragic things that have happened to people in their childhoods. And it's like, hey, this woman had a happy life. She misses her parents. She had a good upbringing. It's okay for us to show those types of people too. Like, those people exist. So I'm into it. This last part that I will go into is the meeting between Chris, Monique, and her pastor and his wife. There's a part of me that would be like kind of petty and say, how well does she know these people? Because when she addressed the pastor and his wife, the wife didn't soften up. She didn't give her she seemed very stoic, and I don't know, maybe she's nervous about the cameras or whatnot. Nonetheless, that's not important. What's important is what was shared between them. And I'm going to play that for you now.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Hey, what's up, Pastor? Hey, First Lady. Thank y'all for coming. Appreciate it. So the best thing I can do is just try to get to the bottom of it and get more understanding. I finally feel like my adrenaline has calmed since I talked to y'all last week.
You had mentioned blacking out.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
The last thing I remember is she was in my face. Going back and forth. All of this provoking. And I think that was that. Maybe I was at my tipping point in that moment.
Where do we get to the point that there is an explosion?
That's not me. I'm not a hostile person. But with Candiace, I started to know her to be a person who manipulates situations. I started noticing aggressive behavior, combativeness.
The very person.
I'm going to stop right there. So she's already established that she's not an aggressive person. It's not true. You've actually said out your mouth that you had to defend yourself, that you're often defensive because people come for you. And she's setting the stage for Candiace to be the one who provoked her, the aggressor in the situation. This is how she's at least leading into this conversation.
That we're dealing with, who we say is in fact our friend, is actually a mere reflection of who we are. And you need to be honest with what's going on in your own heart. And that may be very hard for you because you're used to orchestrating and controlling and dominating, but it's you.
Powerful words, powerful words. You are used to controlling and dominating. You don't feel comfortable unless you are in control. You like to be in situations where you dominate. So people are not free to be themselves, or those people don't exist around you. You're only around people that will listen and do your bidding. So how can you properly assess what someone is when you like to be around situations where you can control them? Because you're trying to control the stimulus, because you're trying to control the trigger. Let's move on.
You trying to protect everything because you had to protect everything as a child all the way up into your young adulthood. When I met you, you were a fighter because the bullying that you went through growing up. And when you met Chris, you've had to prove yourself over and over and over and over.
So first season that Monique is on there, we meet Chris's mom, and Chris's mom is coming for Monique, and she's calling her ghetto and really saying that she's not a good fit for her son. And she's probably witnessed some things. She's probably heard some things. And so Monique, beautiful, smart girl. I'm sure she's very talented in things. We all have our talents. But she's the one that he chose. Still, it's obvious she feels like she's just not good enough. In the review I did with my daughter a couple reviews ago, I noted, it's just something about wanting to belong in this group that's really important to her. But it's not really about them in particular. This is some old stuff. There's some old trauma that every time you get around these types of people and they don't accept you, it's just another slap in the face. And you may never, ever be at that place. You may never gain the good graces or the acceptance that you want. And he's hitting the nail right on the head.
And over again. You've been in survival mode since a kid. All of those things perhaps came to bear in that moment.
It's like, I'm tired of.
Because you don't talk about it a lot.
I don't. I just do what I need to do to move
That's
forward.
a problem.
I do what I need to do to protect my family and try to protect myself. And I'm tired of being criticized.
But the real question is, are people criticizing Monique, or is Monique criticizing herself? Is Monique putting stuff out there to the world, and people are not giving her the reaction that she wants. And so now she's punishing herself. Like, a lot of what she goes through is self-inflicted. In those first seasons where she was around the girls, man, they ate her alive because it was easy. Like, she punished herself every time they didn't respond the way that she wanted them to. Like, every time she tried to show off her wealth or show off how cool she was or how great a mom she was, whatever it is that we women hold on to find our self-worth. I'm that girl and more. And they'd be like, really? And then she would take it so personal versus like the rest of them. Whatever. She put herself in this position, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. She didn't do it on purpose. What I'm saying is, when you lead with your trauma and your hurt, people pick up on that stuff. And you make people feel uncomfortable around you because you don't feel comfortable with yourself, then they can't attach to that. And one thing I think about Candiace is Candiace was another chance to connect to someone in this group and to feel whole and to feel like you belong. Candiace was kind of the glue for her to connect to everyone else. I really think so. Even though Candiace has her ways about her, I really think that she was a catalyst for her to be seen as a person who was likable. Let's move on. Let me open this up.
It's like I'm tired of people taking every little thing I do and picking it apart. People who I think know me. I'm tired of constantly trying to have to prove myself when I know my self-worth. You gotta ask yourself the question, why was that such a trigger? Because in your own mind, you are non-pareil. You are ideal. But you around these group of women, these friends in Potomac, who are not impressed with your own perfection. That causes you some disdain, and that is frustrating. It is not her fault, but it is something that you need to reconcile inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, what you're saying is right. There was a lot of pressure building up inside me that had nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
She didn't deserve that.
She didn't deserve it.
It had nothing to do with her.
I really want to reach out to Chris because I do value our friendship. You know, he's probably sitting back with, dang, I thought me and Chris really had a friendship, so we need to make it right.
I need to sit down and talk to her. I need to apologize to her.
Yes. She's open. The armor is off. She said it herself, and this is a person that deserves redemption. I really hope, for the sake of these two people, that this kind of thing is just not a missed opportunity where people are just acting stupid and nothing came out of it. People can fall out and find their way back to each other. And it could be a great opportunity for them both to learn something about their own behaviors, and that out here in these streets, whether you can fight or not, like, this could be the last fight you ever have. This could be the last time you're free. The reality is, if you put your hands on someone, you threaten somebody, you can go to jail. You harass someone, you stalk someone online, you can go to jail. This is reality. We shouldn't be acting like little girls. That's my take on this review this week. I've been enjoying these reviews. I'm gonna go all the way to the end. So if you like my review, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any other shows that you're watching that you want me to review, let me know. My review for Lovecraft Country is coming up soon. Take care. Bye.